So back to the session. So before break, we have covered auto launch flow with no trigger and record trigger flows. So now we can see about the schedule trigger flow. Schedule flow runs in the background at a specified time and at a repeated frequency like daily, weekly, or once. So examples for this schedule trigger flows like deactivate users who haven't logged into Salesforce next days, runs weekly on Saturdays at 10 a.m. or send birthday emails to customers for those celebrating a birthday, runs daily at 9 a.m. So these are the examples for the schedule trigger flow. So let's see an example for a schedule trigger flow. I am taking the second example as a scenario. So I have I have configured the schedule trigger flow with the second example. Let's see that. So I have created a schedule trigger flow called birthday wishes. So I'm opening the flow. So in the schedule trigger flow, in the start path, we have to mention the start date and time. Uh, so I have set the frequency as today. So start date and start time means from the schedule trigger, the flow will fire after this start after the date we have mentioned in the start date and start time field. So in the frequency, we have options like once daily and weekly. So when we set frequency as once, the schedule trigger flow uh, will execute at one time. Daily means it will execute daily at the specified time, like what we mentioned in the start time. So weekly means it will be executed in weekly. So we have taken the scenario to send birthday wishes to the customers. So we have to check customers' date of birth daily. For that, I have selected daily as a frequency. So here we have to send birthday wishes to a customer. So customer means in Salesforce we have a contact object to maintain the customers. So in the object I have selected the contact. So I didn't mention any conditions to run this flow. If we have any scenario to mention a conditions, you can. But here itself we can also mention. This flow will work based on the uh, customer's birth date, right? So we can also check condition like if the contact's birth date field is empty or not. So we can mention. Hmm. So I have in the start part we defined when to start the flow, when to run, when to run the schedule trigger flow like daily, weekly, or once, and we have selected the object. So next I have added the decision element. So in the decision, I am checking if contact's birth date is uh, current date or not. Um, I have put a condition to check whether the birthday is today or not. If it's today, the birthday wishes email sent to the customer. So I have checked the condition, the record. customer's birth date, like it's today. Yeah, today is their birthday or not. So in the if the decision returns true, so I have here added the action called send email. So in the body, I have added the record name. Record name means here in this context, I am added the customer's name. Customer's name. So in the recipient address list, we have to send the birthday wishes email to the customer, right? So I mentioned the customer's email in this recipient address list. So I have mentioned the subject as a birthday. So I given the necessary inputs to that email action. So you can see this flow scheduled or not. For that, in a setup, you can search for scheduled jobs. So here you can see the birthday wishes flow is scheduled and it's submitted at April 7. I have set start time as 11. So here the start time is 11. And the next scheduled run is this flow is executed will be executed daily. So the next scheduled run is April 8. So here that's all about schedule trigger flow. So here we have mentioned the contact, right? So it will check the all the contact records. So that's all about the schedule trigger flows. And I would like to share some use cases which I have faced in my projects. Like in our project, we have deployed screen flows to production. Some users can access the screen flow and some users can't access. So anyone knows why some users can access the screen flow, some users can't. Why can't? Anyone? Let's try to answer this question.
Do we have any flag on user details like flow user or that is causing behind this?
Yeah, you are right. So to access screen flow to user, we have to check two permissions. Like in user page, we have a flow user checkbox. You are right. I am going to that user page. So in the user detail page, we have a flow user checkbox. If this checkbox is checked, then only this user can able to run the screen flow. Uh, so I am okay. I have a scenario. If a particular user doesn't have a flow user permission, but that user can able to access the screen flow. Uh, anyone know why even the event flow user permission is not given to that particular user? The user can able to access the screen flow. Anyone knows?
We have added the filter on lightning record page for that specific profile of the user, or is
Uh,
this the answer? Sure.
uh, no, we don't have any permission related. details in lightning pages. So, so I will tell. In the profile level, we have a permission called run flow, run flows. If the profile have a run flow permission, that profile is assigned to that particular user, then that user can able to access the screen flow. So we have to give either a run flow permission or a flow user permission in user. So if we have a scenario like particular users under the particular profile can able to run the flow, in that scenario we just we just have to enable the run flow permission in the profile itself. We don't need to give each and every user details page and enable the flow user permission. So this is one of the scenario we have faced related screen flows. And one more scenario is we can, I think you may aware of that community site. Um, so if I have a scenario to use the screen flows in the community site. So and that community site will run as a guest user contacts mode. So and users using the community site doesn't need to have a user in org. So if guest users giving some inputs to that community page, they are it hits an error like it hit an error. So because that guest user's profile doesn't have any appropriate object and record level permissions, so the flow used in that community site hitting an error. So anyone knows how to solve this issue without give without editing or giving any additional access to that guest user profile. We can simply solve. So anyone knows any better solution for this? Anyone try? So in screen flows, in the show advanced settings, we have the option like how to run the flow. So here we have three options like user or system context with sharing, system context without sharing. So what this means, if this flow runs in user context means this flow will checks for example in this screen flow I am creating account contact and opportunity, but the user who is running this flow doesn't have object permission in account and contact and opportunity. If we select how to in the how to run the flow in user context, it will hit an error like you don't have an appropriate object permission to create something. So if we choose a user context, it will um, check object permissions and it checks a record level and it checks a record level as well. If we choose a system context with sharing means if we select this option, this flow doesn't check object and fee level permissions, but it checks record level access. I think you may aware of that record level access. Maybe in the previous sessions, they have covered the sharing settings, sharing rules like. So if we defined any sharing access to that running user, the here the if, for example, if we queried some if any records, the user um, the user's access to records can queried and returned in this flow results. So this is the system context with sharing. System context without sharing means so it doesn't check any object and sharing settings. It will run in the admin context like so. In we have used the screen flows in community site. So because the profile doesn't have a appropriate object and record permissions, so we hit an error like the permissions and inappropriate permissions. Like to solve that issue, we have set that run flow as a system context without sharing. So by setting this option, we avoided that permission issues in community site. So you can define how to run the flow for this screen flow. So this is one of the advanced topic, and so for screen flows, we have one more row actions available in the list like edit access. So we can define. So here itself it shows by default users with any of the following permissions can run this flow. So run flow permissions in the profile or permission set or a flow user in the user record can able to access the screen flows. If you would like to override this default behavior, for example, you have a scenario to access the screen flow so only for the particular profile, you can override this default behavior and you can give access to that particular profile uh, to give access to that on the selected profile members. So it's one of advanced additional topic. And in setup we have a option called process automation settings. So the first option is a default workflow user. So this default workflow user means when we are executing scheduled scheduled paths logic, it runs in the background, right? So when we define default workflow user, that scheduled logics will execute in this user context. So that's here defined. The default workflow is required for scheduled paths in record trigger flow and time dependent actions in workflows. So the default workflow user always runs scheduled trigger flows. So the schedule related logics will run as this default workflow user context. And so let user pause flows, let's users resume flows. So these related stuffs I have explained in the auto launch flow. We have a wait elements to pause flows, and we have a uh, resume option to pause the to resume the paused events. So with this permission only we can do that pause and resume the events. And so if you may face a scenario to your flow will works fine for one user context, but that flow will fail for that for different for other users. So as a developer or admin, to debug this scenario, uh, we have to check that flow in a that different user context, right? So in the process automation settings, we have an option like let's admin debug flow as other users. So if this checkbox is checked, we can debug a flow as other user. I will show a demo how to debug flows different users point of view. So in the flow, we have a debug button. So here we have an option called run flow as another user. If we check this checkbox, uh, we can able to debug this flow as different users. So we can easily troubleshoot the flow errors in different users context. And if you are running the flow at the runtime, the flow will hit any error. That error, the flow will send an error email. So the flow will send an error email to user who last modified the flow will receive that error email. Otherwise, we can define Apex exception email recipients. So in a setup, we have Apex exception email recipients. In that, we can add which users will receive the flow error emails from the organization. Like we can define. So these are all some of the main points I would like to add in the process automation settings section. So, so I have covered from my side. So let's hand over to the remaining types of flows to Rajesh.
Okay, let's we continue the session. We can see the platform event triggered flow. Before going into the platform event triggered flow, uh, we want to know about the platform event. Platform event are the part of the Salesforce enterprise messaging platform. The platform provides a event-driven messaging architecture to enable apps to communicate inside and outside of Salesforce. Platform events are event messages that you app send and receive to take further actions. They simply the process of communicating changes and responding to them without writing complex logic. Publishers and subscribers communicate with each other through the events. One or more subscribers can listen to the same event and carry out the actions. When we publish a event, the flow will act as the subscriber and the platform event trigger flow gets triggered, and what are the logic we can do into the inside that platform event triggered flow. First, we can see how to create the platform event. For the demo, I have taken a scenario. We have receiving some messages from the web application is publishing a event, and we getting the notification, and we post that message to the chatter group. This is the scenario I am taking to explain platform event. For that, we need a platform event to receive the message. So I have already created a custom platform event. Notification is the my platform event, and I have created the two extra custom fields, message and source. And I need a chatter group to receive the message from the external application. Here I already created the chatter group as my team, and already there are the two members in the group. Now the platform event also we have, and the chatter group also we have. We can see the flow I have created for that demo. Here I just chosen as the platform event trigger flow, and that choosing that triggering platform event as the notification. Here we can get the standard. We have some standard event also, the AI prediction event, and patch apex error platform event. When the patch runs any error occurs, this event will be fired. And we have many other standard platform event also. Now I am just choosing notification platform event. When when they even get the message, I need to post into that chatter group. So I have the post to chatter action in the action. I have just chosen that post to chatter action, and I have assigning that triggering record message and in the message variable, and I am giving the target name as the chatter group. For here, I am using that label. I just have taken the chatter group ID, and I already created the custom label. I have created the my team custom variable, and the value is the chatter group ID. Here I just assigning that chatter group ID. We can take the label from global variables, and now I want to publish the message from the external application. Here I don't have that external application, so I'm just passing my message from that developer console. So here I'm just passing this event through event bus. I'm just passing a message as a hi trailblazer and the source as the Salesforce. Now I'm just publish this message. What we are expecting is we that message hi trailblazer want to post in this chatter group. We don't have any messages here. Now I'm going to publish this event. Now I can refresh the arc. Here we can see that message hi trailblazer as a new message we just received now. This way we can use the platform event to pass any inputs through from external system or any other Salesforce features. We can subscribe that platform event from the LWC and Apex also, and we can pass any values from platform event, and we just subscribe to that platform event. We can use that values when that platform event going to publish.
In this scenario, Salesforce is both the subscriber and publisher, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Uh, we want to consider some points. Uh, a flow can receive a batch of event messages at once up to a maximum of 2000 event messages. And if the platform event triggered flows past flow introduce or subscribe to the same platform event, we cannot guarantee which one process each event when the message first get published. And the debug logs for the platform event triggered flows are appear under the automated process user. It will launch under the automated process user when it's fired. And we have the orchestration record triggered flow. In here we have the two types: auto launched orchestration and record triggered flow orchestration. Uh, Here we can give the initial triggering point to that orchestration flow, and we can auto launch the auto launch the orchestration flow by the Apex or STAPs or any other process. We can without user interaction also we can launch that background of the background process of the orchestration flow. In the orchestration flow, we can create the multiple steps to process that interact with the users, and we can create a behind running business process, and we can assign the different scenarios to the different users. When any stage will be completed, we can show some UI to that record users. Here in the orchestration flow, the building blocks are stages and steps and flows. We can define how many stages also. In the stages, we can have steps. The steps are grouped into stages and can be run sequentially or simultaneously. User participation is the necessary during interactive steps in the steps. If there is no user engagement necessary for background processes. If you need the user engagement, we can have screen flows. We can call any auto launch flows and screen flows from orchestration flow. Whenever we record the user interaction, we can call the screen flows, and whenever we need that back backend processing, we can call the auto launch flows from the orchestration flow. As I show that. I am taking a scenario uh, for the explain the orchestration flow. I have the two objects. One object is the bank account, and another one is the transaction. When the user come into the bank, we want to create a transaction record under that persons, and each transaction is going to done by that user. We want to want to show some screen to the cashier for the transaction done by that user. So for that, I already have created that two objects, bank account and transaction. Now I need a user interaction for cashier. So I have created the screen flow. In the screen flow, I have just added that the cashier going to enter that amount and the transaction date here. Here we can give many input data. We have many input data types. We can use any data type inside by using, if we drag and put inside this data type inside that canvas, we can use that data type input element in the screen flow. Now we just need the amount data type and date and time data type to receive the data from the cashier. Now we have that user interaction screen. Now we want to stage our process by orchestration flow. Here I'm just choosing the record trigger orchestration flow. Uh, Here I am want to give the triggering point when I am going to get this trigger, when the user going to come under the ban. So that time we want to create the transaction record. So when the bank account record is going to create, I have to trigger that orchestration flow. So I'm just choosing bank account, and I'm choosing as the record is created or update. For my scenario, I am just choosing for this. I don't going to keep any entry condition, so I'm just leaving as none. In orchestration flow, we just have these two elements only: stage and decision. Under stage, we have three different things to interact with our business logic. Here is the background step. In the background step, we can just call the auto launch flows. If we have any auto launch flow here, that will show under the action. For now, we not having any back end process. I am just going to show that transaction detail screen to the cashier. So I am just interacting step. That MuleSoft step is for the some integration stuff. We don't going to see that this in this session. We can cover this later. Here's a label for I'm just doing cashier screen. Here I'm just leaving as the when the stage starts, the step starts. We have another three condition also. Here the when the another step is marked as completed, the step starts, and when the specified requirements are met, the step starts. And we have when the step specified evolution flow returns true, the step starts. We are just going to choose at the when the stage start, the step starts as the initial. And here in the action, I am just going to call that I have already created the screen flow to the screen flow for that cashier. So I'm just going to call the create transaction record in the action. Here I am going to pass the bank account ID. Here I have already created the input variable for this flow. Uh, how to this is the bank account ID is the already created variable. Here I choose as the data type as the text, and I just given for the available for the input. If you give available for the input, just imagine that flow was the function, and In the function, we can have that parameters to pass. This input, if we choose as the available for input, just that these are the parameters when we call that function we want to pass. If we going to return something from that function, we will use the return statement to return the any any values we going to return from the function. We can give us the available for the output. We can create that variables and pass from that flow also. We can pass some scenarios. We can call some auto launch flows from any place. Like example, we can call the auto launch flow from the Apex class, and that auto launch flow is going to return some value, and we going to use that value after the flow finishing. We going to use that value inside our Apex class. We can give us we can use that variable, the variable marked as available for output. So mm, I have already created the bank account ID. Why I am just passing this bank account ID? Because I want to look up the transaction under that user. So mm, this bank account ID is the lookup field. I want to look up with that user. I will get that orchestration flow is going to triggered by that account creation. When the user will come, a transaction account will going to create it, and that time in that we can get that account ID from the orchestration flow itself. I will show that. Here in the global variables, the bank account ID we can get from the record. Here we can get as the account period values also. If in the initial condition we can give us the update, we can get that record period value also. If we going to create a record, we don't have the prior values for the fields. If we going to update the records, already there is the value in the fields. We are changes some fields. So in some cases we need the prior values to compare with the new values and do some logic. So flow is providing a prior values also for update only. In the create, we don't have the prior value. So here we don't need the prior values. I just need that current value. The current value we can get from the record. And here we can see some other stuff also. The user who triggered that context, we can get that user details from the users. Here we can get the user time zone and everything about the user. And in the previous flow demo, we have used that label. We can have the label also here. And we have the flow. In the flow from we can get current date and current date time and some other stuffs we can get from the flow. And we have other thing also. You can refer through the documents provided by Salesforce and you can learn everything from there. Here I just need a record ID, so I'm going to take that record ID. And the assignee type we can choose user or groups or queue. You have already have seen the group and queues steps are. Here I'm just going to assign to that cashier. That cashier only going to see that screen. So I am choosing that user. I have already created a user as the Rohan. So I'm going to choose this user only going to see that screen, and none other than the users in the are going not going to see that screen. And here that select where to complete the action. This is for where which place we going to show that screen. I am just going to show that screen in the account detail page. So here I am just queuing that bank account record ID, and here I am going that condition is the when the assigned user has completed the screen flow, the step is marked as complete. And here also we have another true condition also. When the specified requirements are met, the step is marked as completed, and when the specified evolution flow returns true, the step is marked as completed. Now I am just queuing is the when the assigned user has completed the screen flow, the step is marked as completed. Now this if we have any other extra logic, we can after interacting with the user, we can decide on to which process want to this logic want to flow. For that purpose, we want to compare anything. We can use the decision element, and inside the decision element, we can create multiple steps also. We can create how many steps, and these steps want to only visible to some set of users, and another step of stage is want to visible onto another set of users. We can decide here I am not need this and all. I am just going to create a transaction record only. If you need, we can include the another stages also. Now I'm doing just going to save this flow. I'm just saving that flow and activating the flow. So this is the flow I have already created for the demo purpose. Uh, this is the same steps I have created in that flow also. Now to create a bank account record, Here I am going to create a bank account record by the user Saravanan. I just have that name field alone for this record. I'm just giving the name as Yas. Now the account record is created. Now our orchestration flow get triggered and we have that orchestration work guide to show the screen interaction. This is the work guide. We want to track and put inside that where we want to show that interaction elements. So here I already have tracked the work guide inside that detail page. Here we have that flow orchestration work guide. We just simply want to tag and put inside that detail page. After we can put that work guide inside, we can save and activate that changes to that arc. Here, if we want to use the screen element, we want to put the flow and we want to refer that screen flow inside and we can get that screen flow on that wherever we need. We can use the flow element. We can call that screen flow. So now I have assigned the whenever the account going to create the screen want to show to that user Rohan only, not to any other users. Now I am going to log in as the user as Rohan. I am just logging as the Rogan user. You can see I have logged in as the Rohan. Now I want to see that interaction screen inside that account record detail page. Here we can see that record Yas. Here we can see that screen amount and transaction date. Before we log in as the user as the Saravanan, we don't see any fields under the work guide. Now, if we are entered as the 2000 is the amount that yours is going to transact, and the transaction date is April 7. If I click the next, the transaction record is going to create. You can see any other transaction record is there. We just have one. That also linked with the Karthi, not with yours. Uh, Now the cashier is going to enter amount. Now the action is done by Rohan. Uh, no more the screen going to visible for the Rohan, and the transaction record is also created. And this is the record we have created by that orchestration flow. We have just entered the amount as the 200 and the transaction day is as April 7, and this transaction is linked with yours, and we can uh, monitor these changes done by orchestration flow. By the orchestration run, we can search in the app launcher orchestration run and the orchestration work items. If we see the orchestration runs, we can see what are the stages have completed. If we have the we can have the multiple stages inside that orchestration flow. Here we just completed that transaction screen. The status is completed. And we can see the work items. The work items are assigned for Rohan Kumar. What is the context record is the yes, and the status is completed. We can monitor the work item also in the orchestration work items list view. For seeing this list view, we need the permission for the orchestration flows. Yeah. Somebody asked to repeat the scenario of the orchestration flow. I just taken the simple scenario. Uh, when an account is going to create, we just need to create a transaction record, and you want to assign that if we going to bank, we going to create an account, we will deposit some initial amount to the bank by the cashier. If the bank there are many cashiers have, but we will see in which queue there is there some people are standing, and we will stand in that queue and going to deposit the amount to the that cashier only. So I just taken that scenario, and we want in here we want to just show what the user we have assigned for this record. So I am showed that transaction screen to the particular cashier. So this is the scenario.
So Rajesh, we have used orchestration flow because we need to run flows on different user contexts,